to anyone else who would like to see it after the fact. Um, One of the big things that I do specifically is I'm unofficially the face of economic development in the Mid-Columbia region. It's usually something that's done. There's not a lot of fanfare, not in front of people. They're working with city and county administrators. But Oregon is really passionate about getting out to rural areas of developing small business entrepreneurship. And one of my roles is through the Mid-Columbia Innovation Hub, which is what my badge is. It doesn't say MCED, it says the Innovation Hub. And that's specifically looking to develop businesses in rural areas throughout our side of Oregon. So I'm coming here kind of in that role a little bit, as well as to talk about a grant that the city of Antelope applied for all the way back in 2024 that we've been working on through 2025 and then carrying it over into 2026. And then there's some opportunity for anybody in the city of Antelope to submit some projects or workshops that they might be interested in. So that's going to be the tail end of my talk. But if I use a word you don't know, just raise your hand, because I deal with acronyms all the time and I try to do my best to spell out an acronym. Things like SBDC is the Small Business Development Center. I say that probably 10 times a day, and if I am talking to someone that's not familiar with that, who hasn't been to the Small Business Development Center, they'll say, yeah, okay, I don't know what you're talking about, but I'm going to zone out. So please, if I say an acronym or something, you're like, what's that? I'm sorry, I'll try not to, but don't be shy to raise your hand and just have me spell it out literally. Is it possible to get these lights off, or is that going to turn the lights off in the whole room?
Yeah, you can have
Ooh, intimate. How about? That's a lot better. Perfect. So one of the things that I was hired for this innovation hub was we identified a need in our region, which is 3 counties, which is hard when you're looking at the mutual needs of Hood River, Wasco, and Sherman County. It was something that we call access to capital. And that can mean a whole lot of things to a whole lot of people. Really definitively, when we talk about capital access, just split it up in capital: traditional loans, microloans, crowdfunding, venture capital, investing, organizations like Kiva, Friends and Family Bootstrapping. These are all some of those words that if you're in investment circles or raising money for your business, it's big words that I spend 90% of my job explaining. And then access. Access also means a lot of things. It can mean education, information, list of resources, aggregation of opportunities, accelerators, pitch competitions, business development, loan programs, bank access, partnership navigation, network. And those are all just really loaded terms when we say capital access. But as I went investigating what does capital access mean to people in our community, it means there's money and can I have it? And I think that's a good way of saying it. A lot of people, when they think capital access, they think, oh, I have a business and I need money. How can I get it? That's as simple as it really needs to be. So this is particularly for small business entrepreneurship, either starting or continuing or figuring out how to keep yourself going. One question to ask is, which form of capital is right for me and my business? I answer this question a lot. Because the question I get very often is, I'm looking for investors or I'm looking for grants. And usually, those aren't going to be the right means of capital production for your business. Not always, but we'll talk about some of the different forms of capital that your business can come into. And I said it probably is an investment. So before we start answering that question, I like to back up just a little bit to really zoom out to look at your business, to make sure that you understand all the needs of your business, to say, what do you need funding for? Can you say how much that you actually need, or what it's going to go to? If I'm going to purchase something, I'm going to purchase a new piece of equipment that's going to let me do more dollars for more business that's going to grow. Does it make financial sense in that way? Can your business support repayment? Are you willing to give up equity, partial ownership in your building, Or are you financially able to take on debt, either through your company in an LLC or you personally as a guarantor?
LLC?
LLC, limited liability company. Great question. That's what it stands for.
Which is like,
It's a business
Partnership.
entity. So if I wanted to say, hey, I want to sell popsicles, and I want to create a business entity that's outside of my personal finances, I would register with the Secretary of State through the state of Oregon to create an LLC. There are other business entities you can create, an S Corp, a C Corp. I won't go too far down that, but the LLC is the most common one. It separates your business as an entity versus yourself. The biggest reason for that, among other things, and again, I'll try not to go down the rabbit hole too much, but if that business goes out of completely bankrupt, if you have a separation there, you have certain protections from your own personal finances by separating out a business entity. Sometimes, if you're doing a small, you're making $5,000 a year, selling essential oils or something like that, it may not make sense to have an LLC, a separate business entity, because you don't need that liability separation. But for some people, especially for tax purposes, if you want to deduct things out of your taxes, it does make sense. The biggest question to ask is, do you have a business plan? I always say, if you fail to plan, you've planned to fail. There are a lot of people I talk to, they say, hey, I have an idea for a business. And I say, great, what's your business plan? They say, I don't really have one. Okay, can you articulate how you're going to make money? No, not really. I kind of have some loose things. I'm like, that's okay. Everything starts somewhere. Sometimes there's seeds in the ground. Sometimes there's sprouts budding up. And sometimes there's a full-on shoot. But step one is to have a business plan. A business plan says why you exist, what problem you're trying to solve, who your customer is, how you plan to make money, how you might potentially grow in the future. These are things that you take some time at the beginning of your business to really think through. It guides your decisions, it guides all of your structure, and if you end up getting a loan from a bank, they usually will want to see a business plan. They want to say, hey, if you're going to borrow money for us, we want to know how you plan to pay it back, so we'd like to see a business plan. If you don't have a business plan, that's okay. Individuals like myself, through Mid-Columbia Economic Development District, or resources I mentioned through Small Business Development Center, SBDC, we have no-cost resources to meet with you and help you put together a business plan, formatting of what it should look like, questions that you should answer, what banks want to see, and things like that. And a number of those, you don't have to go into the Dalles to do that. A lot of that can be done hybrid through a web call, phone calls, things like that, which hopefully you'll have more access to here in this community center. But I'll come back to that later. I'm just excited about it. So I'm going to start at the smallest versions of accessing capital and then get bigger. For most purposes, as you start, if you can start smaller, it's usually the better idea. And so I talk about small scale funding is low risk and usually early stage. There's if you understand the reference, it's called bootstrapping, where you're picking yourself up off your bootstraps. That is the number one way to fund your business. It means you have a product, you make it, and you sell it. You take that money and you reinvest in your business, and you grow. If you're doing very small things, you can start turning that into more and more, and that's just kind of traditional investment structure, or not investment structures, business growth structures. A lot of people will also have friends and family, and that can take however you work it out, a loan, a gift, an investment. You have, rich Uncle Dave who's has a huge property, and he's getting up in years, and he says, hey, I'm so proud of you. I want to give you, $500,000 to start the wool company that you want to make, for example. Sometimes that can happen. That's things that you can pursue. Now, there are things like grants and competitions, and we can talk more about that. Grants are very particular because they're usually issued by either a nonprofit, a government entity, either a state or a federal entity, and they have very particular guidelines around them. depending on who they're for. Most of them won't go directly to businesses. A lot of times they'll go for research and development for like a technology. They'll go into, an example I like to use is when the Eagle Creek fire happened, and even the fires back through the last 5 years up in the gorge. A lot of times people thought, oh, my business took a downturn because of that. Is there grants or is there funds available for me? And I look at what grants are available either from the state of Oregon or nationally. And there are not grants to hey, I'm sorry, you had an economic downturn this year. Here's some money. It doesn't work quite that way. What's due if you have plans to create more defensible space in your fire area, you can apply for a grant for that. They're also competitive. So, the state of Oregon can say, hey, we have a grant available. Here's a total bucket of dollars. Here are some what we want to see it used for. You have people apply for it, and they're competitive. And you'll go down and say, okay, 10 of the companies that applied receive money. 100 of the ones that applied don't receive money. Hopefully it works again next year. Usually a subcommittee chooses that. But that's a really big overarching view of grants, and we'll talk a little bit more specifically about the grant that is currently working for the city of Antelope. Crowdfunding is another way. You might have seen, if anyone's ever been to Solstice in Hood River, they moved over from Bingen to Hood River as a result of crowdfunding. They had people all throughout the community give $10, $15, $20, $50, and they built up, and that allowed them to move from Bingen over to Hood River. But then the last thing is just savings. It's your own skin in the game. You save up money from your life, and you say, hey, I want to invest my savings in this business. You can invest that into your business. Debt financing is popular if you're like, hey, I have an idea that costs a lot of money up front, and it's a lot of money I don't have. Traditional banks will still be the way to go. We have a lot of connections with the local banks. They are currently, almost every bank that I've talked to is trying to help small business and entrepreneurship, to loan money to help them get started. Sometimes you may not qualify for traditional financing from a bank, because if you're starting a business and your business doesn't have a finance history, they'll say, oh, how do I know that this business is going to pay me back? There are other opportunities such as microloans through Mid-Columbia Economic Development District. We have what's called non-traditional financing, where we can, as long as you have a business plan, as long as you got turned down by a traditional bank, we have ways where we can set you up to loan you that money at favorable interest rates that are usually competitive with banks, even if your business doesn't have an established financial history. So, and then there are also, in addition to that, SBA, which is Small Business Association. CDFI, there's an acronym. Credit Development Community Development Financial Institution. There are Kiva, Craft 3. There are a number of other that really want to do banking in a community. So they might have looser standards than like WaFed or US Bank might have, because they really care about giving into the community. And so there are some other loan programs through banks like that who see outside the box. They hear the story of why you're trying to build, what you're trying to build, and change things that way. Equity investment. We're probably not going to do a lot of equity investment in rural Oregon. Sometimes it happens, but equity investment is usually when you need at least $50,000, and sometimes that gets into the $1 million. Has anyone seen Shark Tank? Shark Tank is venture capital equity investing, where they say, hey, you're bigwigs. I have an idea for something that needs to scale quickly, so I need a lot of resources and maybe partners. So I'm offering you a percentage in my company in return for a large amount of money. Angel investment is usually a softer version of that. It's more, hey, there's a few people that are local. Hey, we put together some of our money. We want to invest in you. We'll own 10% of your company. You can pay us back in 7 years or so. We expect to make this much back on our investment. And we can cash out, and you go through. You usually get lawyers involved because it starts to get complicated, but I'm going to skip past this a little bit unless anyone is like, hey, I want to pursue angel investing in these. Okay, good. I didn't think so. I can make this available as well. This is a lot of kind of small information, but this is kind of a breakdown of the things that you should consider when you are looking at what kind of capital access you want to go through. And the ones I highlighted down here is equity is best for startups with high scalability and potential. Debt is best for businesses with steady revenue and ability to handle debt. And then non-dilutive is good for startups, small businesses, or research-based projects.
What's non-dilutive?
Thank you. Non-dilutive is the opposite of an equity. So when I pay out 10% of my company, I dilute my ownership. It's like pouring it with water. So non-dilutive is usually debt-based. So if I'm taking out a loan, I still, even though I owe the bank X amount of money, I still own 100% of my company. So that's what we mean when we say non-dilutive. Good question. So next steps from here is to make a plan. Like you said, build a business plan. We're here to help with that. I'll make sure everyone has my contact info that is interested. Of, hey, I have this idea, but I don't know how to make money off of it yet. Great, let's talk. We'll have a conversation. I always encourage people to start from the exit. And that seems silly sometimes. When I was younger, I cheated by doing all my little mazes on my the menus at the back of Red Lobster. I'd start from the exit because there's only one way to get there. If you think, hey, I want to grow this into a multi-million-dollar company, great. Let's start there, then start building our way backwards. If you say, hey, I have a good idea that I think someone will buy in the next 5 years, okay, well, let's start making our plans from there. Or if you're like, hey, this is just a passion project. This is something I want to do. I want to make a little bit of side income on it, and I can carry this into my retirement. Or maybe it's something I want to give my kids or grandkids. If you start from the exit, that can start shaping your choices going forward before that. Explore local resources. That's a lot of my job. Is there's so much that all communities. I don't think necessarily know that's aware to them. That's available to them. Things like the Small Business Development Center, resources like Business Oregon, which is the statewide economic development agency. There are things like Oregon Entrepreneurs Network, which has largely been focused on bigger cities, but they're recognizing the growth of interest in entrepreneurship and small businesses in much more rural areas as well. And so they're taking strides to do that. And if there's any silver lining of the last 5-6 years of lockdown and COVID and all that, is people realize there's so much that we can do from computers when we can video conference, when we can do hybrid, where you think, well, I don't have time to drive to the Dalles or River or Portland 2 times a week to meet with someone to do this. That's okay. That's what video calls are for. So we try and create ways where we can ensure that happens. It's kind of secondary, but prepare strong financials. If you don't have an existing business, it's more like, hey, here's how I'm going to make money. I'm making a widget. Here's what it's going to cost me to make, and here's what I'm going to sell it for, so that you have a story of how you're going to make money. And then build a compelling pitch. That's more for the Shark Tank style. But I think it's even helpful for you to know for yourself, can I say what my business is about in 30 seconds? We call that an elevator pitch. I'm waiting on the elevator, get in with someone. Hey, this might be the right person who's interested in partnering with me. Can I succinctly say what I want to do in 30 seconds? And so I always like, oh, how do I explain this? I've been doing this job for 1.5 years now, and I'm constantly explaining what I do because no one knows what economic development is unless you're in economic development. So it's always fun. That's the end of that part of access to capital. And now I'm going to move on to kind of the second half, which is going to talk about the fund that we've been currently implementing through the city of Antelope, courtesy of the Oregon Community Foundation. Oregon Community Foundation is a nonprofit group by the Swindells. That name doesn't mean anything to me, but if it means something to you, I think it's William Swindell. It's a group of people who wanted their dollars to be invested back into the state that they love, Oregon, and they wanted to just have dividends that pay not just monetarily, but they want to see going forward. So instead of investments, they chose a grant cycle. And so MCED has been administering this grant with the city of Antelope. It was applied for in late 2024, received funds through 2025. We've been implementing it. We had a little bit of an extension because there were so many pieces that we were trying to push together that we went through an extension. So it's going until the end of April this year. We received $25,000. That can go for a number of things. I think this is on the next slide. Let's see. The grant is called the Thriving Entrepreneurs Grant. So I was talking about how grants usually have very specific things that they have to address. OCF gave MCED in the city of Antelope, and MCED helps with that, $25,000. And the people who applied for that said, here's what we want to do to grow entrepreneurship in rural Oregon, in the city of Antelope. And OCF said, sure, come back to us, report back to us in about a year, let us know what you're doing. Part of it is they want to feel good about themselves. Look what we helped do in Antelope. But OCF is the funding organization for organizers that support entrepreneurs. This grant exists to strengthen local economies through entrepreneurship. The focus is on reducing barriers for rural and underrepresented founders, which is a town of 38 people. And the intent is to build a stronger, more inclusive entrepreneurial ecosystem with more entrepreneurs able to start, grow, and sustain business. And so there are a number of things when the city of Antelope applied for this that we worked through. So there's a $25,000 grant awarded for the time period of 2025, and it was extended until April 30th, 2026. You sum it down really succinctly, there are two goals of this grant. Number one, high-speed internet for the community center, right here. We've heard stories time and again where they can't come out here. It doesn't get as fast as we want. What are our options? Here's how much we could do if we had more better internet here for the community. So we made that kind of job one. And then now, number two is a wide net of entrepreneurial support for Antelope. So first, I want to talk about goal number one, internet. Some of the things you may not even know has already been done here. I've been working on this with a number of partners and stakeholders. We contracted through a IT agency called Direct Line. They're out of Hood River and the Dalles, and they kind of came up here and did an assessment. Through the grant, we originally thought Starlink was going to be the best way to get internet here. But through an assessment, they looked at what we have here, what's going to work, and they say, actually, Resilience has broadband, but they don't have the total capability to access this center yet. Reliance, thank you. I've always mixed that up. So they said, hey, this is probably going to be a better investment of money than going Starlink. I think Starlink, we quoted out, it was going to be like $5,000 of this grant. This is going to be, closer to $2,500, $3,000 of this grant by using this. And we'll have speeds up to, I think it's 100 megabits a second. We're currently at 3, and we'll have speeds at the lowest end up to 100 megabits per second, just really fast. We have a ready to execute plan for 8 access points, which means we can have 8 wireless routers across this building. And in addition to that, there's room in this grant for what we're calling like a tech library. That means a printer, tablets, Chromebooks that the community can rent out. I'll leave the community to decide on how you systematize that, but they will be owned by the city of Antelope that can be used here to access internet, to make those video conference calls. If people aren't able to come into city council meetings, you can do that. If you want to access SBDC support, you can do that. So we're just trying to do everything we can to make it easier. All that already paid for, already done. Here's the 2 things that we are needing in addition to this. And I'm going to put this to you, Mayor Raymond, as well. The internet does cost money. It's about $80 a month for the whole thing, for broadband. Because we saved money on Starlink, I need to cross some T's and dot some I's. but there is room in this grant to supply 1 year of complimentary, of prepaid for internet for the city of Antelope. So you have 1 year free. You have the devices to hook it up. We do it. Doesn't cost taxpayers anything. After that, you can figure out, hey, this is useful. I mean, if you want to say we don't want internet after this, that is your prerogative. But we do need to decide what speed the city of Antelope would like. There are 3 tiers that are recommended. It's, I think, 100, 300, and 500 for all intents and purposes. For what you need, $80 a month for 100 megabits is probably more than enough, but I'll let you decide. And I've made those available to Mayor Raymond as well, so we can choose through. And the second is just, this is a city building. We need to do some installation. We need permission to do that. We want to do everything. So if we have a vote by the city council to approve installation and wiring at the community center, we can get moving on getting those physically installed. Again, that's the reason that MCED is administering this grant. We can connect these resources through the Dalles and Hood River to come and just do it, and then everybody can reap the benefit. The number 2, small business.
Go one still?
Yes.
So what's the state of, is it right that this requires bringing fiber cable to Antelope, or what's the state of that?
My understanding that fiber cable is here.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, we just need the right wiring in this building, some light wiring that they say, to connect it through. There'll be some wiring through walls to make sure that there are routers upstairs and downstairs. So that's what we say access points. It's where the internet is being signaled from. So there's room for 8. Yeah.
If after a year we decided we wanted something else, you come in and just take all your stuff and go?
So we'd be, the way I understand it, and don't quote me on this, we would also be purchasing things like the modems and routers. We wouldn't be renting them from the internet company. So they belong to the city of Antelope. We wouldn't take anything. Really, it would just turn off the internet at the source, and then you'd have hardware.
Paperweights.
Yeah, paperweights, hardware that you can use in the future. You can save up at some other time. Or, the best case scenario would be another internet service provider is able to come out here, creates more competitive pricing economics. It's hard when it's like, hey, you have one option for internet, here's the price. Hopefully in the future there'll be more, but yes.
Will the internet that you get in though, it'll allow Wi-Fi in the whole building, so even the upstairs classrooms could be used for workshops?
Correct. The goal would be those 8 access points are 8 routers. And you think about if you have internet at your home, you probably have a wireless router. It is enough of a cast to do an average size house. I don't know what an average size house is, but a large area. So now there's 8 of them. And so you can have a router in here, a router out there, 2 routers downstairs, so that there will be covered access throughout the building. That would be the goal. And we'd be working with direct line IT to make sure there's adequate coverage at high speeds across the entirety of the building.
Does that mean everybody that lives in the city of Antelope will be charged $80 a month for this service?
Individually?
Yes.
No, collectively. So the city of Antelope will be charged $80. So I think that's ends up being $2 a month for internet. And with that, including the hardware, the Chromebooks, the tablets, and all that, you don't have to pay anything for that. You'll own those, so it'll just be $2 to access the internet here, and high speed and reliable. Anything else? Okay, we'll move on. So goal 2 is small business support. This is where I would like a little bit of input. If anyone's here, is anyone here a small business owner or thinking about starting a small business? Great, awesome, very good. We're soliciting projects and workshops. After we get the internet project done, there's a subdivision in the budget for this grant related to entrepreneurship and small business. We can do workshops. There can be general technical assistance. We can have people come up here and do a workshop on business business plan. Any capital expenses that are related to small business. We have a total budget for all of this around $10,000. It doesn't have to be now. I'm gonna stick around for a while and chat with you and talk questions, but I don't want to come into community and say, hey, you guys need a social media workshop. That's going to be the most important thing to the city of Antelope. And then we pay some consultant to drive up here and host on social media, and you're like, well, no one really cares about this. There's one or two people about this. So we want to take a little bit of democratic input to just say, hey, what are some things that you would like to hear? To that end, we're going to have a solicitation for submissions. I'm going to leave my email address. If you'd rather through a paper, I can figure out how that works, but I'm trying to keep it somewhat simple. Write to us and tell us what you want. I'm asking for about one page to say, hey, I have an idea for a workshop. I think it'd be really good for us to have a workshop on business planning. Here are people I know that would benefit from this. Here's why I need it, because I have a business that is growing and I'm having a really hard time with that. And I know other people in my community are too. There is limited for capital expenditures. That's something that's a hard good that will be used for your business. An example I have is if you have a small, let's say a food cart or something. I don't think there's any food carts in town, but you need a POS system that's going to make it so it's easier to take orders and stay organized and keep your finances, and that's going to cost you $500. Something like that is something this could potentially go for.
I'm your acronym tracker. POS is?
POS, point of sale system. Thank you. Point of sale system is a little tablet where you can say, hey, 2 hamburgers, 1 hot dog. Great. That tracks it for you, and that can be really helpful for our business owners so they're not working on paper receipts and all that. I'm asking that submissions for ideas for either a project that has to do with your business or a workshop can have a plan, a net benefit to Antelope, if there are jobs created or revenue created or impact, and how much money you're asking for, be submitted to me by February 23rd. Oh wait, sorry. Submissions due 2 weeks on the 16th. And then there's an independent subcommittee through MCED that will sort through, select the projects. Hopefully, if everything comes through and it's all under budget, we can approve all of them. But we'll make some decisions to make sure that everything is true to the terms of the grant, that it benefits the entrepreneurial community as is dictated in the grant, because they do want to say, hey, why did you spend $5,000 on a gold statue of Jacob in the middle of Antelope? And I'm like, well, I can't really explain that to you guys. I'm so sorry. My big ego got in the way, and so they want it to be central to the request of the grant, supporting small businesses or entrepreneurs. These ideas, and we will work together collaboratively on this. The grant period is done on April 30th. And so we want to either, if it's a capital purchase, we want to make sure that gets to you. If it's a project that you're working on, that project is done, that workshop is executed by the end of that period. And I am your MCED liaison for that purpose to help execute and take up what needs to happen. That's why project manager. I get to manage projects. It's a lot of fun.
So if I'm writing my one-page document, can I call you up and say, does this look good enough? Or is that asking the judge for advice?
Get back to you on that. On one hand, I think it could be collaborative. I think I can offer feedback, and some of it will be, I don't want to give an unfair advantage to anybody, but I want the dollars to be spent. If everyone comes in and it's like, hey, I have a plan for, I want to spend $10,000 and I have 8 applications for $10,000, not all of those will get funded. And so I don't want to show favor to one person or the other. But if it's like, hey, let me think more on that. My instinct is like, I can do some relative guidance and we can have some conversations, but I don't want to show extra favor to someone else.
That's fair.
Can you share the total quantity of grant funds that are available to the city of Antelope?
Yes. I'm happy to make the budget public. I don't have it on me right now, but it's $25,000 that is all for Antelope. Now, the line item for this was about under 10. There was about $5,000 budget for the whole technical side. There's some that is for hours for McKed for administering the grant as well, and there's pizza, things like that. So little things here and there, but the whole is $25,000 that need to be spent.
Well, have there already been disbursements in the city of Antelope?
What do you mean?
Have you already paid out some grants in the city of Antelope?
No,
Small businesses?
so OCF has paid the city of Antelope and McKed the money. McKed is kind of the what's the word I'm looking for? The chaperone, the guardian of the money. So they haven't been paid out yet. No small businesses have directly received any money from OCF at this time.
Well, if it's approved, how soon would they get the money?
That's a good question.
Small
As it would be as soon as possible. If we're notifying by 2/23, it will depend because there will be some projects. What would likely happen if you're purchasing something, it's something that McKed would be purchasing for the business instead of just giving you cash and like, hey, hopefully you're good with it. We want to make sure there's a paper trail and accountability. So. Yeah. Any other questions? I think this is the last slide, but let's find out. Yeah, that was the last slide. Well, I'll be around. I'll stick around for a while. Happy to entertain any other specific questions that you have, bounce around ideas, and I'd love to hear. I think workshops could be great, but I want them to be valuable to the community. So if you're like, hey, I've been talking with Gus and Jim and Wade and all those things, hey, we would really like some education on. And I've heard float around even as much as like how using Google's suite of software. They have free word processing and spreadsheets and presentation points. If that's something that's interest, that could be for businesses, or you're just like, hey, I want to know so I'm better at it. We can do that for you as well. And we'd love to be able to host them here and do those trainings and, when necessary, bring in some local experts who really provide high quality content. So yeah. Any other questions?
Back to goal 1.
Sure.
Can we, when you set up this equipment and internet in this building, can the costs cover maybe a projector screen upstairs with it? Because we can barely read the screen with this little projector.
Yeah.
So could it cover the cost of a new projector if people were doing trainings?
Yeah, I think so. And if someone's like, hey, that could be kind of casual because this is goal 1, not goal 2. It doesn't need submissions. But if you're like, hey, we really need something upstairs, come talk to me. We can make some decisions about whether do some cost comparisons. If it's like, hey, we need something to present on. I don't know if you've seen the price of TVs, but some TVs are cheaper than a projector and a screen. So sometimes it might be easier to just get a big flat screen TV.
And workshops through McKed, I'm signed up for the McKed newsletter, so
Yes.
I constantly get links to hey, we're doing this, we're doing that. But there's reinventing rule.
Mhm.
There's workshops through both the Maupin Chamber, Oregon Frontier Chamber. There's a lot of online resources. It's just getting connected with those.
Yeah. And a big part of my job in particular is what I call navigation. Is, hey, I don't know where to begin. And if you have a business, sometimes you're so busy working on your business that you're not thinking about what I need to go to the next step. You don't know about financing options that could be right for you. So I, of course, am silly and did not bring any cards, but I'll make sure my contact information is up here. Jacob, Jakob, @mcked.org. love to talk to you and help navigate you. Again, no cost.
Let me suggest an idea for a workshop. And I'm gonna use the scary words artificial intelligence and make it totally unscary. If, for example, you think, oh, I'd like to have a website. How many of you know how to make a website? I do not know how to make a website. But last night I made a website in 15 minutes. It takes programming, but I do not know how to program. So I used artificial intelligence and I typed in, this is what I typed in. I want to make a website for my campaign for county commissioner. Here's a picture I have, and I want this website to have a little pull-down menu for issues, for background, for endorsements. And I pressed the button, and then I saw it on the screen, this programming happening, and then it gave me back a file. And that file was a website. I could show you the website. And then I said, when I said the words that I am saying are the words that I typed. Oh, please change the bottom line to this other thing. And went back for a few minutes, did some more things, and came back with that change. So it's like talking to a person, telling it what you want, and it does it. And it's that easy. There are some free programs for a limited time. I spent $20 a month. It's going to be cheaper than like Squarespace or something for me. So if you have a business, you want a website, you could be a whiz, and it's pretty amazing, and it's no simpler, no harder than what I just said.
Yeah, I think building a website is usually that entry point for a lot of people, and whether it's AI or using traditional methods through WordPress or Square, something like that. I know a couple people who would be able to give that address.
If you want, I'll give you some links to show some people who have a podcast. This is how I did it, and they walk right through it.
Kara, I have a question. Do you guys do Zoom for your city council meetings?
No.
So that might be something that would be of interest can this loan be used to help them get Zoom, be able to do their city council meetings through video conference?
Yeah, I mean, if it's just an educational component of how to set it up, I think an educational workshop on web conferencing could be helpful. It'd be a skills workshop that is relevant to businesses and government and just anyone who's curious.
We haven't been able to since we've started. The internet is just now turned on
Yeah, well, that's what I
this week.
was thinking that.
So it was
when you
never
mentioned
never
getting
on before.
that internet, that might be an interesting option to allow people to be attending from wherever.
Yeah, comes full circle too.
I believe the city council voted that down several times before.
What in particular?
The Zoom, they don't like the Zoom.
Okay, yeah, that's outside of my purview. It can be. I mean, in fact, a workshop to talk about web conferencing, it can be taken down by city. It can be taken on, and city council decides to use it, or not. Up to you. I would come and have a workshop on web conferencing, how to set it up, information session. So, yeah.
On the Zoom thing, I'm not a big fan of the Zoom thing. We have it up in Shantico, and
It's an excuse for people
yeah,
not to be around.
it's an excuse for people that don't actually live in the area to just pop in on Zoom and then make decisions for
That's
the
why we
people
don't
that
even look at
do live in the area. And my feeling is if you can't take some time out of your day to go to a city council meeting because you want to help the city get better, why give you an option of Zoom? And that just makes, to me, I think it makes people lazy and just, well, I'll just sit on the couch and I'm not going to come and be a part of it. I'm going to sit on my butt in my house and make decisions. And I'm, in New York or in LA or, and
But I have a father-in-law who has dementia and is interested in the city council stuff, but I don't think I could get him to come into this building to save his soul. But if he could watch it on a Zoom thing, that might be something he might be interested in.
I mean, and that's the other side of the coin.
Yeah,
That's
and
the other
I'm
side
gonna,
of the coin.
to an extent, we can talk more after. I'm gonna nip it in the bud because that comes outside of the purview of like, if you want to know more, if you want to talk more about it, we can have a session on Zoom and we can talk about it and we can learn how we can keep some people out, how you can password protect it so only certain people are allowed to get in, how you can share the recordings if other people are unable, how you invite people, how you set up these conferences. And so it is, like I said, whether you choose to use it for city council or not is no me importa. It is all about like having the skills and capability that if and when you want to, you can, whether it's for city council or for calling your grandkids or calling, a father-in-law that is sick, or if someone is genuinely sick and unable to make but really wants to come and vote. All about skills building.
So in the grants that we've applied for in the last 2 years, most grants have a mandatory session that you have to attend before you can even apply. And they have to be it's a Zoom conference call. And so, yeah, some people don't like it, but if you're wanting to get capital for a business startup, you have to follow what they're asking. And if that means your face is on a screen to somebody in Salem.
Yeah.
That's not what he was saying.
Well, yeah.
Well, no, I'm just saying.
Right, she's just saying that that's.
There is good.
To that point, maybe use it for city council, maybe not.
Yeah.
A whole different issue. I will wholeheartedly say that the skill of understanding how online web conferences work is helpful. It increases your reach. It increases the people of business support that you can access with. You can set up calls with banks, interviews. It keeps you from having to go hour and a half to the Dalles. 3 hours to Portland. So it gives you more options and kind of opens up the world to you.
I often will testify in Salem by way of Zoom. And if a person from Antelope testified in Salem, he would be listened to.
Yeah.
At the clerk's office, we did marriage applications via Zoom once COVID hit. And you and your fiance could be on the video conference with us. We'd take you through the whole thing, and then we would mail the application. That way people could still get married during COVID. So and sometimes having that capability at your local city hall to help with people can be really, really useful to, if you want to have that second or third wedding.
Well, and I think some of it's different when 38 people live here.
Yeah.
We have 30 up there, and it's a 2-minute walk.
Your point's
For
taken
any of them.
when you're
So-
talking about bringing together people who are already
Right.
close together, that's different.
Yeah, it's a
The
little
examples
different.
we're talking about where we're here and we're trying to reach out to people who are far away. We had
Correct.
one person Zoom into the Wasco County Commission meeting from his combine. And we didn't
Yeah.
want to take him away from harvest, so,
Sounds like Judge Joe to me.
yeah.
Awesome. Sorry I ruined a pizza, guys. Gosh, I'm embarrassed.
I don't know, pizza is really good. So.
Well, again, if anyone's interested, I can make this available online if you want to watch over. I'll make the presentation available. And then Jacob, Jakob, at mcked.org is my email address. Happy to give you my phone number. And anything you want to chat about, just bend my ear. I'll be around. Antelope's great. It's a great community. I think the first time I came out here was a familiarization tour back in fall of 2024 and went through Shantico, went through Antelope, spent a little time in Tide Valley, and just seeing all the growth that can happen here. It's really cool. A lot of people just love their community, and I love seeing that in rural areas. It's funny, like McKed, we apply for grants. We technically, Hood River and the Dalles are rural. I live in Rowena, 192 people, I think, And that feels rural, but it still was that 5 times the amount of people in Antelope, so and a lot farther away. So we all just want to support each other, make sure everyone has the same opportunities for each other. So that, like I said, I'll stick around. Yeah, thank you. Eat up. If there's any EPs left, please eat it or take it. I hate leftovers. I hate seeing food go to waste. So I appreciate your time.
Good idea bringing a flashlight.
You bet you've got to be.
Last time.
Thank you again.